All right, so today we're going to talk about crypto payments in the real world. So we always do this through our browser, we always do this through a phone, but let's talk about how to use Web3 in real world and how to buy coffee with it, which if you know is extremely challenging. So I've been in payments for over 10 years, and if you've been in payments, you know you have to serve a very long tail. Ask your mom who still writes paper checks. So now what's really important is because of that tail, we have to serve Web 2. So what we do today, Web 2.5, which is people sort of just getting into crypto, maybe passkey wallets, and bleeding edge Web 3. Like you want to spend and live your whole life on chain. So quickly about us, what we do is our parent company, Compo, we make almost every metal payment card in the world. So you likely have one of the things on your screen in your pocket. We pioneered that space. And we decided, well, why don't we take that cryptography engine that lives in your payment card and make it into a Web3 device? So that's where we came up with Arculus, which supports the Stellar blockchain and many other chains. And we turn payment cards into multifunction devices. So one, they're happily payment cards, so they'll function on Visa, Amex, etc. And you see that working in many of the payment cards today that are linked to your crypto assets on an exchange or decentralized custody like MetaMask. Also, our hardware wallet. So that same chip that allows you to transact in Visa or MasterCard will let you do three things. One is payment. Two, it's a hardware passkey. So instead of trusting your passkey wallet to Google or Microsoft, etc., your passkey lives in your pocket, safe and secure, and your keys offline where they should be. And third, it's a full HD hardware wallet. So again, keys in your pocket and the classic, not your keys, not your crypto. So as my head of product likes to say, if you could only feed yourself using crypto assets natively, you'd starve, sadly, because it's really hard to find somewhere that you can spend crypto. So I live near New York City. There's one place that takes Litecoin. We did it as sort of a gag and filmed it, and it's not a good experience. It's a QR code, it's back and forth, it's very challenging to do. So how do we change that, and why is that the case? So if we look and take a step back and we look at retailers accepting digital assets, you can use these slightly dated stats from Capital One and see that 75% of merchants plan to accept crypto within the next couple of years. 50% of customers approximately who have paid with crypto are in a younger demographic, which should surprise no one. But the last line is surprising. 25% of crypto users cite lack of merchant acceptance as a limitation to increase usage. I would have thought that's much higher. I think that's really because a lot of people have adopted payment cards that link their crypto assets. So they're still spending over Visa, they're still spending over MasterCard, which is great. And we fully support those programs. But being really Web3 native and really wanting to use the chain to its maximal capabilities and have that completely permissionless process, I really wanted to push us and drive towards real DeFi payments. So, and I'll move this along. Why are direct on-chain payments so rare? It really is consumer experience, and seconds matter. So there's a reason Visa and MasterCard have spent years and hundreds of millions of dollars to tap and pay, and you're done. I know this is Brazil and the land of Pix, but QR codes suck. So, right, the rest of the world has figured out, boop, done. Right. So like that, those seconds matter, transactions per second on chain matter, transactions at the 7-Eleven per second matter. So instead of me talking about something theoretical, why don't I show you at work?
This is tap to pay with Arculus. So a merchant can enter an amount on this payment terminal, click purchase, and then the customer can select which stablecoin they would like to pay with, and then simply hit tap to pay with Arculus. They'll enter the PIN code that's stored on their card, and then they just have to tap. Now the transaction is complete. I can view it on the blockchain. And it was successful.
And with that, it's direct tap to pay on chain, same as faster than Visa, MasterCard, etc. So there's a push payment. So the merchant's directly getting the stable. We show a stable. It happened to be USDC. We can support any network, any chain, any token, whether native or stablecoin as well. That was a push payment directly to a merchant wallet. Could go to a smart contract. Could go to Circle or Paxos and get liquidated. But what I want to talk about in closing is we really want to support this. You on-ramp once and you're done. So you push assets on chain, no off-ramping, really giving people the capability to live fully on chain, especially in places that aren't natively dollarized, but while stables stay dominantly dollarized. Here, this is a way that people can interact. So what's my ask? I'd love to talk to merchants. I'd love to talk to consumers who want to use this. I'd love to talk to people who want that native Web3 tap to pay experience. So if you'd like to get in touch with me about payments, hardware wallets, crypto directly on chain, that has a list of all the things that's the best way to get a hold of me. And I only have 5 minutes, so I have to run. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Adam. Next up, we have Kurt Fields from PwC, who leads the blockchain practice. All right, Kurt, you're up.
Thank you, Jason. It's great to be with everyone. Exciting to be back at Meridian. So going to spend a little bit of time today talking about how we help enterprises get to ES. We're past the point of hype cycle. It's an exciting time in blockchain. And we're now focused on how do you get an enterprise from saying not yet to a yes? Meaning, what do we start to focus on to get them to understand what this means to integrate this technology in an enterprise-grade environment? There are a few considerations that we come across with our institutional clients that are looking to build on Stellar and move from that motion of being stuck in that experimentation phase of building POCs, getting familiarity with the tech, and starting to pivot towards a scaled product offering. So when we think about some of the considerations that an enterprise is working through, one of which that comes top of mind is how do we think about translating an existing controls environment, an existing security environment into the context of blockchain? Blockchain has the promise of robust real-time controls, real-time auditability. But when you try to communicate that to an institution that's dealing with legacy tech that is often episodic, error-prone, and is subject to reconciliation, being able to bridge that gap is not so easy. So what we try to do is co-develop from the beginning. So being able to drive that collaboration with the teams at these institutions that are focused on what these regulated environments need to look like and translating this technology into that environment, it's a big unlock for an institution to get past that. So when we think about the commercial aspect in working alongside some of these functions that are driving the enablement of compliance, risk, and security, there's a question around, well, where is the unlock around scale where we start to enable these support functions to scale in the way that the business needs? And so often it starts with contextualizing around an existing product that serves a customer today, whether it's a payments product or some other legacy asset that is scaled in the market already. Being able to communicate to the institution how you rewire that journey for the customer and rewire that expectation for the customer in the way they engage with the institution is a fundamental unlock. So think about if you move someone into a stablecoin environment, whether it's a retail customer or an institutional customer, what does that journey then look like beyond just using a stablecoin for, let's say, a payment purpose, whether it's for corporate treasury use cases or other payment use cases that any institution or customer is dealing with on a daily basis? Where do they go beyond that? And what we see as, again, one of the difficult challenges for the institution to get past is helping the customer understand where they navigate from a blockchain environment and back into the legacy institutional environment that they may be used to on a given daily basis. So thinking about how we, again, translate that customer journey into a blockchain native environment where they are not feeling a change or a transformation in the way they engage, but can feel the benefits of the technology, whether it's cost reduction, real-time visibility, improvements to liquidity. Again, the promises of blockchain that we've been talking about for years. We think about the way that the institution is approaching this technology. The other fundamental shift that we try to coach them on is this is an ecosystem technology, so you have to have an ecosystem approach to scale and bring a commercial product to market. Companies that are in this space, when we think about legacy financial institutions or other sectors that are trying to build on the tech now, one of the challenges that they struggle with is, again, they have built systems, design systems in an enterprise environment for 20, 30, 40 years. Being able to rethink the way that you approach data governance, security standards, commercial operating model around a given product outside of your four walls, it's a very uncomfortable motion for a lot of the legacy institutions that are out there today. So what that usually leads to is some sort of co-design effort. So whether it is a financial institution engaging with their custody provider, or a retail company engaging with some of the payment providers that they use on a daily basis, to start to work through what that transformation means, both from in a blockchain environment as well as the underlying impact to legacy systems and process. That's where we get companies over the hump of moving out of the POC pilot phase and into a scaled product environment. The other piece that often becomes a big part of this is thinking about the impact of the customer again. So being able to navigate within the ecosystem what the message is to the common underlying customer, again, whether they're retail or institutional, that's a big unlock for the companies that we're helping build on Stellar. So what does this mean? Well, when you think about the process, even starting with a POC and then moving through to the production grade offering, we want to make sure that we're embedding those functions from each organization involved in the project at an early stage. So everyone from your product strategy people to the legal functions that are enabling a lot of the rewiring or redesign of contracts, to then all of the relevant functions within an organization that help get a product to market. The more you can start that design process up front, the better off you'll be. The most successful projects we see often involve having the operational and back office functions front and center for these projects, because they are truly rewiring the way these companies are operating. Product strategy, of course, is helping to guide what the relevant commercial offering is to the market. But at the end of the day, if you can't get past that transformation in the back office or the middle office, we see products stagger in the way that they're being released out to the market. The one other thing that often becomes a question too is, how do we think about the way that the ecosystem can potentially rewire the way that a customer is engaged? And oftentimes we're seeing the dilemma of, do we preserve the existing relationship with the customer, or do we try to go after net new customer attribution and serve them with new products? The answer right now is it's a mix of both. And we see that most institutions are starting to collaborate over the way that they approach the customer. Again, a fundamental shift from having a point-to-point interaction with a customer alongside your competition. So with that, I'll pause. We do have a workshop tomorrow where we're talking a bit more about how we get enterprises to a yes. And again, that's getting them from a POC to a production grade capability. So we'll go into a bit more detail around the common questions we're seeing our clients focus on as they build on Stellar and engage with the ecosystem that's built on the network. Thank you, and hope to see you tomorrow.
Thanks, Kurt. Before we get to our next guest, we'll do something interesting. These are supposed to be 5 minutes. So for every second over, you remember earlier today we gave out 500 XLM via Meridian Pay to everyone. We're going to deduct 10 XLM from everyone for every second we go over 5 minutes. That'll be a fun game. We'll see how it goes. But for every second under, we're not going to pay everyone 10 XLM. Sorry. Next up is Diego, who's the CEO of Alfred.
Thank you very much. I'm really excited to be at my 4th Meridian this year. Stellar plays a really near and dear place in our hearts, and yeah, super cool to be in Brazil. Full disclosure, I'm dealing with some stomach virus situation, so don't drink tap water. If I can tell that to you and save you what I've gone through for the last 24 hours, it'll be a very successful panel. But yeah, today we'll go over a high level of what is Alfred. So Alfred is a regulated PSP and a licensed financial institution across 6 markets in Latin America. And we provide a simple API for businesses to connect and pretty much scale their solutions. So anything from consumer fintech to B2B SaaS. And yeah, these are all use cases that we're powering. And via our API, we bridge stablecoin and traditional payment rails such as PIX together. That is not how we got started. And again, one of the reasons why Stellar is near and dear to us, I would say I'm not a ecosystem maxi, but if I was, I would be a Stellar maxi. And one of the main reasons is I can firmly say that our business wouldn't be where it is today without the support of the Stellar ecosystem and the SCF. In our very, very early ages, we set out to build a wallet. We saw stablecoins as a massive solution for cross-border payments from US into LatAm, and we started building a wallet. And as we were doing that, we won SCF 9, which was an amazing accomplishment for our company. And we started really going to the process of what it meant to connecting stablecoin rails to local infrastructure, right? And we realized that the market was extremely fragmented. There was players who overpromised, some solutions here, some solutions there. So we started building all of that for our own application. And in that process, we learned so much as to what worked, what didn't. And fast forward to 2023, when we're like, okay, we're finally ready. We realized that the real bread and butter behind our application wasn't the app itself, but what we had built behind the scenes, which was the licenses, the compliance complexities, and liquidity that really powers these consumer products today. With that being said, we went from powering cross-border remittances, and today we do all sorts of different use cases. So I see Scott out there. Decaf is big fans of the Decaf team. We help power cross-border remittances from Mexico to Colombia. Also help trade finance unicorns like paycargo.com in helping them move cargo and logistics and settle that internationally across markets like Asia to LatAm. And we power high-scale fintechs as well. So Circle Payments Network, I think last week, Fireblocks Fiat was announced, and applications like the World app. And that really has been extremely rewarding for us as a team because we get to sit and really see all the different use cases that are being enabled on chain today and play a really cool role in it. And full disclosure, what Alfred means, and it kind of happened by accident, but I really like that we ended up here, is Batman's assistant. We named the company after Batman's assistant. So like software and really where we pride ourselves is that we want our businesses and our customers to be Batman, right? We're really cool with being Alfred and being the behind the scenes player that via one API is connecting all these different aspects of the payments chain together. So yeah, fun fact. I don't think I've shared that to many of our Stellar friends. But they told us to talk about product market fit, and this is what product market fit looks like. And again, we're extremely humbled and encouraged to be in the position that we are today. Our API has powered over 1.3 million individuals and businesses altogether. So these are folks that have onboarded through our API, and over 5 million transactions to date. And this is something that's just going to continue to grow. I think that Latin America as a whole, we all see it as a really hot hub when it comes to payments. And I think that there's something really interesting happening right now in the ecosystem. That's the collision between stablecoins and fintech technology, and banks being more receptive to opening up their environment so other folks can really scale these business and solutions across these different regions. What's next for us? We're gonna go deeper, right? So I think something that gets thrown around so much today is global payments over stable coins. And that is awesome, right? But none of that is possible without localized players. So something that we always tell our customers is, when they're like, oh, what's the difference between you and this guy? We're like, have you seen them dance salsa? Have you seen them dance bachata? Like, are they really local, right? Do they really understand the complexities between these different markets? And for us, we really take pride in that, right? So we've deployed boots on the ground pretty much across every geo that we operate in. We have local teams, local compliance teams that are really handling the day-to-day behind this. Today, we cover Mexico, Brazil, Colombia, Argentina, Dominican Republic, and Peru. And we're going to be going into Chile, and recently struck a agreement with the Central Bank of El Salvador to open up Guatemala, Honduras, Costa Rica, and Nicaragua via Transfer 365, which is a program that we're piloting with them. And we're really excited, right? Because we believe that stablecoins isn't only B2B payments, it's also remittance use cases and valuable corridors like Honduras, like Guatemala, when it comes to these different aspects, and those corridors need to be unlocked. And what unlocks these things is infrastructure at the end of the day. Another thing, which is our core focus, is payment methods. So we're going to continue to deploy more and more payment methods for our customers to leverage. So things that are extremely sought after today for us is virtual accounts. So a lot of these Asian merchants that are looking to collect payments in Latin America, whether it's Peru, whether it's Brazil, whether it's Mexico, they want a unique depository fiat account where they can collect funds into. These are things that we're rolling out in Q4 across Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, and Colombia. We have customers that are already piloting these different use cases today. Additional to that, QR and PixPay. So being able to check out at different merchants, whether you're grabbing a beer or you're grabbing tap water. But yeah, and last and not least, we rolled out a stellar USEC Visa card that we're piloting right now with the Vaseo team. So we're really excited about that. And again, when you guys think about Alfred, really think about infrastructure, right? The things that empower the different use cases that are happening across the ecosystem. And yeah, looking forward to what the future holds. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Diego. Next up, from Sao Paulo, we have Tota, who is the SVP from Mercado Bitcoin. So please welcome Tota to the stage.
Well, hi everyone. Thanks Star Foundation for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Fabricio Tota from Mercado Bitcoin and Beam, the largest digital assets platform in Latin America. But today I'm going to talk here about our RWA experience so far. RWA tokenization is something that we've been doing since 2019 and at MMB. And that's what we learned today. What's our approach? What are we doing right now? First of all, it's a live at scale operation from MB at MB. So in this last 5-6 years, we've been building, testing, iterating, repeating again. We've tokenized over 10 different asset classes to see what fits, what really works, what there's a real demand, and what tokenization can bring to this user base, and even to new users that are outside the crypto world. And the clear winner so far is tokenized credit and receivables. A little bit different from what we've been watching, outside Brazil, for example, money market funds, treasuries, and so on. There's something that doesn't have that appeal here in Brazil, talking about local bonds, for example, but private credit is a must, is a huge success here. And utility is much more important than the PR. Okay, telling people what you are building is nice, but real utility, both for the investors and also for companies that want a different way of raising money, outside of the traditional capital markets. Actually, I think that it's the sweet spot here for us is finding a lot of companies, that are struggling to raise capital on traditional capital markets that finds on tokenization a different way, much cheaper and much better and much more efficient of raising money compared to the traditional capital markets. And where we are in terms of scale, have tokenized so far and distributed, important to mention, over 1.5 billion reais so far. And barely, 1 billion in the last 12 months or something like that. Today we are the fifth largest private credit tokenizer globally, and keep in mind that 99% of our distribution is here inside Brazil, on more than 450 different issuances, exposed to over 4 million clients. And the key here is something that was built to repeat, to have patterns, to have standards, that we can repeat over and over again what is working, what we find demand on our user base. Our solution is an end-to-end solution, from origination to distribution and servicing, even though we don't need exactly to do this. We could get an asset, originated by another company, or even do the origination to the issuance and give someone else the distribution. But what really works when we see a lot of something really getting traction is when we do all the way, from origination to distribution. One thing super important about distribution, over the 90% of the users at a SEX here in Brazil, typically they have never made a single, withdrawal of their digital assets. They leave everything, at the exchange. So the front end, a SEX front end for most of the users is a win. It's something that they really want, to the ease of use of a single app, a website, or even being helped by someone as an advisor, for example, to access these assets. So I think that meeting the users where they are is a key of success. In our case, that we have over 4 million clients. That makes a lot of difference, on when it comes down to distribution. And another important thing about distribution is that we found the Brazilian way of distributing, this kind of assets. Of course, we have the retail app, we have MB1, that is kind of our private, label, B2B via advisor's office, and wealth also. We have partnered with over 100 different advisor office, the agents autonomous here in Brazil, that are plugged into our pipeline, of distribution. And this kind of fun, because even though the technology, blockchain technology in general, is something built to disintermediate, we found on intermediaries, a real strength in terms of distribution. But it's much more a matter of finding what really works, and kind of respecting the culture, the way people are investing here in Brazil. Investment has changed dramatically here in Brazil in the last 10 or 15 years, with these offices playing a key role. So respecting this kind of model was something really important for us. But where are we going? First, directing more flows on-chain. That's why we have partnered, and we are announcing it on first hand, with Stellar to issue 1 billion Brazilian reais, barely 200 million US dollars on Stellar chain, of different and new issuances of RWA. So finding the way, into the on-chain world is something really important so far, really important today, that we have a real product, rolling. A reality check regulation is not in place yet. Something that is developing here in Brazil, super live in weeks. We will have some new regulation regarding VASPs, have some new rules also from the Securities Commission. So super important that the regulation keep up with innovation, for us not to try to, kind of wrap the old inefficiencies. So we do need new regulation so that innovation is going to really help us to find new clients, to help the companies raise money, and to really rebuild the financial system and the capital markets. That's it for now. Thank you so much.